What's up guys, Intellitech Mobile here, and today we'll be doing a bit of a different video. Different in the sense that it'll be more of a discussion video. Now, this could serve as my review in 2024 of the Xbox Series S. But my review of it is not going to be nearly as rosy as it is with the Series X or other video game systems, and that's for a number of reasons. If you know me, you know that I don't like digital. But I'm going to actually give objective reasons as to why this system is not worthy of your consideration, even at its low $300 price point, or potentially even cheaper between $240 $260 from a used but guaranteed video game store, or potentially around maybe $200 used on Marketplace and eBay. And I actually didn't look at those prices before getting into this, but generally the Series S, right off the bat, is only useful for one scenario only, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the vast majority of people who are looking to buy a next-gen console should steer clear of the Series S. And I do not, for the life of me, understand why people will so vehemently defend the Series S against even older Xbox consoles that are more versatile and a better value these days, like the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. People are a lot of times saying this machine is the only one to consider if you are a budget Xbox shopper, and that you should never buy an older Xbox console like an Xbox One S or One X. Now, obviously, there's a big difference between those two systems and this, the lack of an optical drive. I mean, that's, to begin with, that's obvious. But it goes a bit deeper than that, because it's not just as simple as that. You have to actually look at the full picture. Yes, the Series S is cheaper than the Series X when you see them side by side on a store shelf. But what are you actually sacrificing? Now, don't get me wrong. Is it great that Microsoft has a more entry-level console? Yes, that is great. But you need to know what you're actually getting into. Not only do you have the issues, all of which that come with digital games and digital media in general compared to physical, but the reason why they're able to make it so much cheaper also makes this very bad for future-proofing, I should say, because it's a next-gen console at what Xbox claims is last-gen prices, but in reality it's a last-gen console at last-gen prices. This machine trades blows in terms of sheer performance with the previous-gen Xbox One X. Teraflops and other specs can often piggyback amongst each other, and we can have a debate about which one is more powerful in which specific aspect. But the simple fact that it's competitive is, don't get me wrong, the fact that a $300 system in 2020, because we're going based off release schedule, is pretty much as powerful as a $500 machine from only the previous year, as in previous year where it was the highest end system. That's impressive. But nowadays, that's more of an issue. Developers are constantly complaining about how underpowered the Series S is compared to the Series X and the PS5. And right now that we're actually now that both of these systems, both the Series X and especially the PS5, now have a big gap in terms of their availability, people are actually able to buy them now in stores. And a lot of times we see developers now saying, hey, we now want to actually properly harness the power of the Series X and the PS5, and yet we can't because the Series S is hamstringing us, just in the same way that the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X are, and especially the base model PS4 and Xbox One. Now, if developers were smart, what they would do is, given the fact that the Series S has a very similar power profile to the Xbox One S and PS4 Pro, is they do a slow rollout where they would drop the base consoles. They would drop support for Xbox One and PS4 and their respective S models, but maintain some limited support for the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, since their power, at least in some facets, is very similar to the Series S. Except those are still last-gen consoles, and they don't want to do that because that would create massive amounts of confusion amongst last-gen console owners, for obvious reasons. So what they want to do is they want to drop the Series S, but they can't because there's too big of a power difference between it and the Series X and PS5, which means they're struggling to develop for it. But this is, and from what I can tell, the more popular of the two Xbox consoles from my limited anecdotal experience. I don't have sales numbers. A lot of the sales numbers that I see include both series consoles, so if someone knows where I can find sales figures on both, I would wager the Series S is probably the better selling system, but I imagine it's pretty close. Whereas with PS5, I don't think there's very much discrepancy. I think the disc edition is drastically outselling the digital edition. I don't know anybody who owns a digital PS5. So, the power difference is a big, big factor. Yes, it's much cheaper than previous systems, but you're not actually getting all the performance that you're paying for. At least if you're paying for what you believe is a next-gen console. So that right off the bat means that, yes, it's a lower entry price, but your experience is not going to be as good. Especially if you're coming from a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. It's going to feel like you didn't even buy a new system, with the only exception being the speed of the SSD. And that comes into the second issue. Now, this issue does also affect the Series X, but it affects the Series X a little bit, not as much, and it also doesn't affect the new 1TB model nearly as much because they both have the same amount of storage. So this problem is identical between the black 1TB Series S that just came out and the Series X. But on that note, we'll touch on that in a second. We'll kind of reel back to what my point I'm about to make about the size of the SSD in here. But also, we have this expansion port. Now, here's the thing. This machine only comes with a 500GB SSD. That's half the storage of the Xbox Series X. And that's also, I mean, technically it's 12 gigs more, but that's the same amount of storage as the base model Xbox One from 2013, from over a decade ago. That's the same amount of storage as the final Xbox 360s that existed with 500GB hard drives. Yes, SSD, yes, much faster, NVMe storage, all that's great. But in terms of capacity, games have only gotten bigger. I remember back in 2014 with my launch model PS4 running out of space very, very quickly. Games are much bigger now. I haven't even used this thing very much. I've maybe downloaded 2 games on it and it's already almost full. And yeah, so right off the bat, you immediately, after you purchase this, have to buy a hard drive. Immediately. Except, oh wait, you have to buy the storage expansion cards, because if you're going to play newer series specific games, which if you're not, then why did you buy this over an Xbox One? Because that is one thing that I think is pretty non-controversial. If you're only playing older games, why did you buy this? Why didn't you buy an Xbox One S or One X? But if you're going to play series games, which if you're upgrading to a Series S, you presumably are going to want to do, you can't run, if you buy an external hard drive, you can't run the games off that. You have to then move them back to the internal SSD in order to play them. That process takes forever. Solution? Expansion cards. Except a 1TB expansion card costs, as brand new, costs almost as much, if not as much, and in fact in some cases as much, as what one of these systems goes for used. So literally, if you buy one of those brand new 1TB storage expansion cards, only a terabyte, not even any amount of space. That's literally nothing. For today's games, 1TB is peanuts, and you're paying the cost of another one of these. For the price of one of those storage cards, you could buy another Series S. Used, yes, but you could buy another Series S. So, the ecosystem for this is very convoluted. Yes, the starting price is $300, and used it's potentially as low as $220, $230 for a whole bundle with a controller and all the cables and everything. A box itself will easily get you only $200. But again, you can't do anything with it. If you buy any digital games and download them, then you're out of space. Oh, and fun fact, Game Pass. If you have Game Pass, which I'm going to touch on later, is one of the best reasons to buy this, is if you're really in the Game Pass ecosystem. I've never, on this or on my Series X or on my One X or on my One S, I've never gotten the cloud streaming function to work. And I have fiber internet. I have fiber gigabit internet. And I still can't get the cloud gaming to work. It sits there, it loads for about 10-15 minutes, and then just quits. So you can't do cloud gaming. At least I can't, and I don't know anybody who's had a different experience. So if you have Game Pass, even whether or not you have Game Pass or whether or not you bought each individual game, you have to download the entire game to your system. Except, oops, you ran out of space. Download 2 games and you're out of space. So now you have to buy one of those expansion cards because you can't buy the cheaper hard drives and just deal with the slower speeds because they block you out from using those hard drives. Even though a lot of new games have plenty of ability to adjust settings and compare resolutions to frame rates and adjust all that, but for whatever reason, presumably because of hardware limitations and the way these games are developed, you don't have the option to just tick a box that says, let me install this on a mechanical hard drive and experience the game at a slower speed. They don't let you do that. So you have to use an expansion card. 1 terabyte will cost you almost $200, about $180 for a Seagate one. And I think the new Western Digital ones are even more. So, and that's only a terabyte. That's a terabyte. That's nothing. You want a 2 terabyte? That's the cost of a system right there, a brand new one. Like, or not brand new, but a used one at least. And so, what, you have to buy multiples of those? Like, are we back to the days of the PS2 where you have to buy a bunch of those memory cards and pop them in? Yeah, pretty much. Except those memory cards are the cost of entire game systems. I mean, with one of those 1 terabyte storage expansion cards, here's a fun fact. If you buy one of those storage expansion cards brand new, that's enough money to buy a PS3 and an Xbox 360 and have money left over for games and a second controller for each system. Fun fact. Can you tell why the current state of gaming is just garbage? But that's neither here nor there. So again, let's go back to the other point that I was sort of touching on earlier regarding the storage size on this. So again, this has a 512 gig SSD. There's a new black version out that has a terabyte. That version's $350 instead of $299. At that point, you're $150 less than the full retail price of the Xbox Series X. Except, oh wait, Best Buy right now has the Xbox Series X for $449. Oops. $100 difference between the 1 terabyte Series S and the 1 terabyte Series X. $100 difference. Why would anybody choose the Series S over the Series X? The Series X for $100 gets you a system that's several times more powerful and has a disk drive. Even if you primarily use Game Pass, which again we'll wrap this video up with the main reason why you could potentially justify buying this system. You have access to older games. Backwards compatibility is one of the best parts about Xbox. So if you had a Series X or even an old Xbox One, what do you get? You get access to Xbox 360 games through backwards compatibility. You get original Xbox games through backwards compatibility. You get 4K Blu-rays, which I have, but for some reason I didn't grab one for this specific example. But you get access to 4K Blu-rays. Pretend I just put one down. You get access to regular Blu-rays. You get access to DVDs. And you even get access to CDs as well. Oh, I didn't grab a CD. Where's the CD? Yes, maybe people don't listen to CDs. Maybe it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I like CDs. So you also have access to music CDs. Isn't that great? So, again, you might not use these all that often, but that's still something that you're getting that you're not getting with this. Why would you want to spend this much money on something and have so little inbuilt functionality? So you can't play Grand Theft Auto 4 unless you buy it separately. You can't buy Halo 2 unless you buy it separately. Except, oh wait, you didn't really buy it. You paid more than what the disc cost, except you don't own it. Because if your Xbox account somehow gets hacked or banned, which has been happening a lot recently, where people are getting banned and not getting explanations as to why, you lose everything. If your account somehow gets locked and you can't recover it and you can't get access to it for whatever reason, because let's say you change your phone number or whatever happens, you lose everything. If you want to go trade in your system, if you decide you want to move to PlayStation or Nintendo or anything else or PC, then you lose everything, because yes, it's still on your account, so it's there if you get another Xbox and sign with the same account, but you can't move it anywhere else because you don't own it. You paid $20 to $60 for a 40 gigabyte file that's hosted on a Microsoft server that you don't have access to. You don't have rights to it. This copy of Total Drama Island, I own this as long as I own it. As long as this stays in my house and I don't rip the discs in half and they don't have the one in a million chance where they get disc rot, I can watch this garbage collection of Total Drama Island until I die. Same with the Avengers. Same with Red Sun Rising. I can listen to these or watch these whenever I want to, does not matter. But what about digital? Let's look into it. Of course, Game Pass, you know how that works. I love Game Pass. Here's the thing. Because unlike previous demos, you get the full access to the game, and it's already installed on my system. So, for example, I've been playing a lot of Starfield recently. I really enjoy Starfield. I haven't played it a little bit, admittedly. So maybe the game sucks at some point. I don't know. I guess I won't stop talking about it. But let's just pretend it's still good, because I haven't necessarily found anything I don't like about it yet. So I love Starfield. I've been playing it, having a lot of fun. Great thing. It's on my Game Pass, and I have Game Pass. So I've been able to play it in its entirety. And guess what? I bought the disc. Slide the disc into my Series X. Boom, immediately pops up. It's already downloaded from me previously installing it from Game Pass. So there we go. Now I own the game. That's really cool. Now, let's say I want to play GTA 5. Let's say there's only a handful of games that I want to play on here. Well, here's actually a better example. This is actually one of the best examples. And the funny thing is this changed right as I was filming this video. Grand Theft Auto 5. If I buy it for the Xbox Series X, it's $20. Guess how much it is on Xbox's store? $20. Oh, look at that. So then why am I arguing against digital so much, right? Oh, it's a sale that ends in 4 days. And the sale removes $40.20. What does that mean? In 4 days, this $20 disc is going to cost you $60 to download on your Series S. So, let me get this straight. I bought this is one game. This is one game. In fact, let's just say 2 games. Let's say you're the type of person where you play only Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty. That's all you play. That's it. That's all you play. So, let's grab GTA 5. You buy this digitally, no sales going on. Without any sales, what's that price? Oh, $60, $59.99. This disc was $20. So, if we bought a Series X and bought this game, that's right now, actually, because the Series X is marked down to $449, you're looking at $470. $470 for a Series X and GTA 5. A Series S, that'd be $360. So we're looking at roughly $100 and change difference between buying a Series S and a game and a Series X and a game. The same game, just on the most easily accessible platform for that. Let's look at another example. Call of Duty Ghosts. This is probably not the best example because this is the 360 version and technically you need the Xbox One version, but you get the point. So, let's look up Call of Duty Ghosts. So, we're on the website. So, Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm on the Xbox store right now. I'm just looking it up off camera. Call of Duty Ghosts. And of course I looked up the wrong version. Hold on, give me 1 sec. I need to make sure I find this. Can I even find it now is the question? Okay, see again, this is gonna call me a liar because I just checked this before I started filming. So normally this is $60. Normally, every other time I look at $60. Right now it's on sale for $20. This disc was $8. How much is it on Xbox One though? Because again, this is a 360 copy. I don't own it on Xbox One. How much is an Xbox One copy? Because that's going to be the one that it's going to be essentially running on this. Let's go to eBay right now, and we'll look up Call of Duty Ghosts on Xbox One. So again, we're if we can match that $20, that's good. But remember, it's normally $60. But let's just try to match the 20. Just for benefit of the doubt, let's assume that deal doesn't end in 4 days and it goes on forever. Or you just happen to buy it right now. Call of Duty Ghosts, Xbox One. What have we got? Oh, okay. $12, $10, $12, $11, $12. There's a disc only, so it's a little bit cheaper. There's one that's a little bit more, 15. Like, what's the most expensive one here? So far, 15, 15. So, like, at most, yeah, 14. So, at most, from what I'm seeing right now, at most $15. Maybe 16, 17 with tax. You know, these are all free shipping, but let's say $17 with tax. Still $2 cheaper than the digital version, and it's the disc, so you could play it on any Xbox One, any Xbox Series X. Whereas with this one, if you buy it right now, you can spend $20 for the world's greatest Call of Duty, and it's stuck on your console. You can't play it anywhere else. Oh, except there's that fine print of in 4 days that goes up to $60. So tell me, if you want to play Call of Duty Ghosts, would you rather pay, let's average those prices we saw, because we saw 10, we saw 12, and we saw 15. Would you rather spend $12, $14, well, we'll just say 15, because that's the most expensive one. Most expensive price you'd pay. So if you bought one of the 12s plus shipping, $15. Would you rather spend $15 on something that you own? Or would you rather spend $60 on something that can be taken away at any moment? Like, someone explain to me the logic of this, because I don't understand it. Again, if Microsoft did much more aggressive deals, like that $20, if it was like that all the time, and that was the normal price, and the $20 was cut down to like 10 on a very, very regular basis, then yeah, it being the same price as a disc or ever so slightly cheaper still isn't the best argument to me, but that could get somebody. That could totally get somebody. Oh, $10 for this game? I spent that on lunch. I'll just grab a game real quick. You know, yeah, it might be a couple bucks more, a couple bucks less than a disc, but I'm paying for the convenience of getting it now. I don't have to go anywhere. I could see that argument. What I don't see is an argument for buying 2 games for $60 a piece. That's $120. When you could buy both of these games, again, pretend this is the Xbox One version, when you could buy both of these games for at most $35. $35 versus $120 with no sale prices, just original stock pricing. That's 2 games. Let's do the math on that. Let's do the math on that. So let's grab a calculator. So 60 times 2 is 120. So 120 minus 35. So you're wasting $85. And you're wasting $85, and that's under the assumption that you have those digital copies forever. Because if you lose access to those, if you lose access to your account, your account gets hacked, if you have an issue where someone hacks into your account and assigns their own card to your account and then charges refunds for all of your games, which is, I don't know if it's been successful, but I've seen a lot of reports of people attempting to do that, and that somehow works, you're out even more money. So, do not buy digital games on any platform other than maybe Steam, because at least Valve seems to somewhat try to pay lip service to people who care about preservation. I wouldn't put much stock in that. I still don't play very much on PC. I mean, I bought a physical copy of Stray. I'll show you, in fact. I bought Stray on PC. Actually, no, I didn't. I was about to buy Stray on PC, but I saw it came out on PS5, so I held out, and I did not play Stray until I bought a PS5, and now I can play Stray. So that's a good example. Because I'm confident that as long as I have a working PS5, I'll be able to play this adorable game forever. This game doesn't require any sort of internet. Its installation is literally 9 gigabytes, and all the data is on the disk. Now, and that's another point that a lot of people will mention in favor, or they say it as if it's in favor of digital games, but it doesn't really make any sense. Their logic being, well, a lot of games now don't have very much data on the disc anyways, so there's no point. You might as well just buy it digitally. Can someone explain to me the logic of that argument? Because my autistic brain doesn't quite understand it. So you're upset, rightfully so, that companies are selling you a digital game inside a drink coaster. And instead of voicing your concern at the company for not putting the data on the disc, you're going to reward them by buying the game digitally when you know for a fact that's what they want you to do and that's why they put no data on the disc. Explain the logic of that to me. It makes zero sense. What really would get the company's attention is you either pay for the disc, and if enough people buy the disc and make a big stink about there not being data on the disc, then maybe they'll actually put the game on the damn disc. Or, if you really want to vote with your wallet, don't buy it. The worst thing you could do is to pay full price for the digital game. That's the worst thing you could do, and yet people do it and then still complain about it. You are exacerbating the problem yourself and then complaining about other people contributing to the problem when that's exactly what you're doing. Explain that logic to me, because it makes no sense. Guess what? I don't support digital content. You know what that means? I don't buy them. I vote with my wallet that I am not going to accept digital content unless you are honest with me about it. Unless you are honest with me about the fact that it's a rental. Unless you're honest with me about the fact that I don't own this thing. And if you give me value on top of that to justify the money that I'm spending on something that's not tangible. And guess what? Game Pass does that. And that right there pulls the conclusion into our video of the one scenario where this machine makes sense. If you do not play any paid for games, if you do not purchase any games on this, and all you play are free games, PUBG, Rocket League, Fortnite, if you play nothing but the free games and the games that you have on Game Pass, and you're content with the games that are on Game Pass, then the Series S can make sense. If you're not concerned about graphics settings, if you don't care about older games, you don't own any, you're not going to play them, you don't have interest, you're only interested in playing newer games on an inexpensive platform in a small package, and you only play what's on Game Pass, and you're confident that you will only ever want to play games that are on Game Pass, and you didn't pay full price for this, you got it for around $200, maybe at most $250. I'm putting a lot of asterisks on this, and you only ever play 1 or 2 games at a time, so the storage medium is not a problem for you. If you fit that very, 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 very narrow criteria for this, and I'd show as we've been staring at the ass end of the system the entire time, which is fitting because the Series S is ass. If you fit in that very, 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 very narrow category of users, then the Series S is your next console, and the console that you could buy. I'm not even going to say should, could buy. I still think you should spend the extra couple bucks and get the Series X. But, guys, be logical. I see so many people on Reddit and all over the internet say that I can't afford a Series X, I need to get the Series S. You are ripping yourself off. You will spend more money in the long run with the Series S than a Series X. If you truly believe that the Series S is a better investment than the Series X, when you're buying digital games, when you're buying external storage mediums, and spending more money for a degraded experience with worse frame rates, worse resolution, worse power consumption, or not power consumption, worse power utilization. If you believe that's the way to go and that's your way of going through a next-gen console, then by all means, pick up a Series S. But if you want the system that has more functionality out of the box and just overall is going to be a better long-term buy, especially as we get closer and closer, or especially as we get further and further into this generation, then just get the Series X, or just don't bother. Or, hey, here's the thing. If there are still to this day no next-gen exclusives that captivate your interests, but you really want a new Xbox that's more powerful than your base 2013 Xbox One, or maybe you have an old base model PS4 and you want to just switch to Xbox, pick up an Xbox One X. The Xbox One X is super underrated right now. I bought one for review, but it never showed up. I had to fight eBay to get my money back. And the Xbox One X, oops, I bumped it, in a lot of cases is a great value right now. It's the only thing that really it slouches on compared to the Series S in real world performance is the speed of the hard drive. But if you're technically savvy, you could open it up and replace it with an SSD. And yes, it won't be NVMe, but you'll get still a much faster experience. I'm not trying to be a downer or trying to be, trying to make fun of people who purchase a Series S. By all means, if you bought a Series S and you're happy with it, be happy with it. But I just don't understand. And someone please explain to me in actual terms that make sense why, unless you're in that very, very specific demographic that I mentioned, why it objectively makes sense for you, why it would objectively make sense for you to get the Series S over the Series X. Again, everyone says, oh, it's cheaper, I can't afford a more expensive system. I understand that. Times are tough. But you're just screwing yourself over in the long run. If money is so tight that you can't spend an extra $100 on a console, or $100 to $150 on a console, then, I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but because I've been in this situation before. But it's like, if $150 is going to break you, you probably shouldn't be buying a new game system. You should be putting that money in your saves account. Pick up a 360. Pick up a 360 in a couple games, in GTA 5 and Black Ops 2. And just stick with that until you can build more money in your saves account. Have a higher emergency fund. Catch up on some bills. And just stop stressing out about having the newest thing. Because there's nothing worse than having nothing in the bank, but feeling like you need to have the newest iPhone or the newest game system. Because you don't. You don't. If that's your determinative factor, then don't buy a next gen system. Because chances are, if you're that tight on money, you probably aren't in the demographic where it makes sense to get this anyways. Because you're probably not spending money on Game Pass. Because you probably have enough subscriptions and monthly payments as it is, right? So don't put that extra burden on yourself by getting Game Pass. Go buy an Xbox One S if you have a couple bucks to spend, or go buy a 360 or even a base model Xbox One. Those are dirt cheap now. Get yourself a copy of Grand Theft Auto 5, maybe a Call of Duty or two, a Battlefield, a Destiny, a Halo, a FIFA, whatever you're into, and just stick with that for a bit. In today's day and age, with how many games come out and are overpriced, are buggy, have issues after release, have all these day one patches, have content getting stripped out of the games, if you miss out on a couple launches, it's not going to kill you. It's really not. Speaking from experience, I gave up on the gaming industry long ago because of stuff like this. The only reason I even somewhat got back into gaming is because of Starfield and because of Spider-Man 2. And honestly, it started with this game. So, I know it's kind of got emotional at the end, but it's like some people really just need that real world, honest feedback. Because, again, there's just very few scenarios where this makes sense as an option because of its limitations. The biggest two being the lack of power, the lack of storage, and lack of a disk drive. That's 3, but you get the idea. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this really long-winded rant video. And Reddit makes me feel like I'm a minority because r/Xbox is full of people shilling for the Xbox Series S. But if you share my sentiment, or don't, if you agree or disagree, then let me know why in the comments below. I'd love to have a discussion about this because I don't think I'm the only one who believes this. And if there is another alternative, oh wait, I guess I should I should mention this too. If you're one of the people that are buying one of these to like put it in demo and use it as an emulation box, that's a great use for it. But obviously that's a pretty small number of people. I can't imagine that is enough to sway an entire market. But I did want to put that out there because I know someone's going to comment on that, and that is another scenario where this would be a really cool box. But, so would just about anything else as well. So it's not really anything like unique to this. And Xbox One to do the same thing. But it's very cool for sure. So, just want to throw that out there as well. So anyways, let me know your thoughts on the Series S, how it compares to the Series X and other Xbox systems and PlayStations as well. Do you agree that it doesn't make sense to buy this in most circumstances, or do you disagree? And if you do disagree, why? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to get a discussion going about this. And yeah, I mean, that's just, as you can tell, I'm obviously very passionate about this issue of digital media and how it's taking over a lot of things. And I showed you the data, I showed you the pricing. We've seen evidence of this with what just happened with Sony and some, I believe they were Universal movies or whatever the case that was. It just doesn't make sense to invest in something like this, at least not to me. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. And that's pretty much that. This is Intellitech Mobile signing out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know what video you want to see next in the comments below, and I'll happily do that as soon as I can get to it. Anyways, this is Intellitech Mobile signing out. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.